Hi everyone, this is Dr. Saiti, Team MDS Conquer. So let's have a quick discussion of your general pathology. So first thing I'm going to discuss about the topic that is genetics. So many times I've asked the carrier states and what is exactly like how the offspring is being affected from the autosomal dominant or autosomal recessive or X-linked dominant or X-linked recessive. Okay, so this chart which I've presented here is quite important. So whatever disease you get, first you need to know whether it's autosomal dominant or autosomal recessive, and then you have to draw, like for example, you have to draw the disease by the name or it's something like that, and then you have to do the crossing. Okay, so then you'll understand what is the percentage of the disease that is being transmitted or that is being carried by the offspring. Okay, so if you see the autosomal dominant, so this is the affected parent, so 2 kids will be affected as you can see, and 2 kids are unaffected, right? Whereas in the recessive trait, only 1 kid is affected, 2 kids being the carriers and 1 kid is completely unaffected. Okay, so the dominant gene, if even one dominant allele will have or will show the disease in the offspring. Okay, so like that you have to draw accordingly and then you have to come to your answer. So just little points. So the autosomal dominant disorders have variable age of onset and variable expressibility. The key points are heterozygous with dominant mutant allele will express the disease. Okay, homozygous with dominant mutant allele will die prenatally. So whenever you get a disease of autosomal dominant, then draw it to be like a heterozygous, because homozygous of a mutant or a dominant mutant allele actually die prenatally. Okay, so if the question is asked a child is having an autosomal dominant disease, then draw it to like whatever you are giving your representation, make sure that it is heterozygous. Okay, so these are the various autosomal dominant disorders. So just see through the the mnemonic which is present here. So all the names of the diseases are given here, right? So just it is like a revision for you, so just give a good glance. So this mnemonic and the respective diseases you need to know, because they can name the disease and then they can ask you the inheritance. So for example, they can ask the Marfan syndrome. Okay, they can ask neurofibromatosis, they can ask achondroplasia, or they can ask any other disease, or von Willebrand disease, which are quite famous, they can ask. Okay, next, autosomal recessive. The key points are mutant alleles express themselves in homozygous state. So if a disease is said to be autosomal recessive, then you have to draw your pattern of being homozygous, and there is complete penetrance and they have early uniform onset, and inborn errors of metabolism are usually inherited as autosomal recessive. Okay, so these are the various autosomal recessive disorders. So this is the mnemonic and these are the diseases. Okay, so quite important, note them out. Okay, and most of the metabolic disorders have autosomal recessive inheritance except, so these are the exceptions, so do note them as well. Okay, so these are the ones which are not autosomal recessive. Okay, so they most of the others besides these, okay, except these diseases, the others are autosomal recessive, other metabolic disorders, so which includes means as per the particular chart given here, these metabolic disorders are not autosomal recessive. So exceptions are Hunter's syndrome, Lesch-Nyhan syndrome, ocular albinism, hypercholesterolemia, Fabry's disease, porphyria. Okay, so just have a look. And what are the inheritance or what is the genetic pattern there, even that you need to know, especially for Hunter's syndrome, ocular albinism, Fabry's disease. So quite important, so just have a look of this. So next, the X-linked dominant and X-linked recessive. Again, the pattern of inheritance and the number of kids that are being affected is again quite important. Okay, so for example, now the father is affected, it implies X-linked, right? So you have to draw X to be the dominant, the one which is having the mutant or the dominant allele. Okay, so then if you see, the daughters are affected, the sons are unaffected. Okay, so this is the important pattern. Okay, so all the daughters are affected, the sons are not affected. Okay, if mother is affected, then one daughter is affected and one son is affected. That means 50% daughters and 50% sons. Okay, so are affected. So 50% of the sons are affected and 50% daughters are affected, right? So if mother is dominant, so you have to draw like this and then you have to come to a conclusion. Okay, next. So X-linked dominant are the Alport syndrome, hypophosphatemic type D vitamin D resistant rickets, orophageal digital syndrome, and incontinentia pigmenti. Now coming to the X-linked recessive. So now this is a recessive disease. So here the mutant gene, if the father is affected, then two daughters are the carriers and sons are not affected. Why? Because it's quite obvious. The mutant one is being transmitted only to the daughters, as you can see, right? And the sons get it from the mother. So that's the reason the sons are not affected and only the daughters are affected, but they are carriers. Why? Because it's a recessive disease. Only one mutant allele or one mutant gene will not cause the disease. They will be like carriers, right? So when coming to the mother, if mother is being affected, okay, then one daughter is carrier and son gets affected. Okay, so this is again quite important. So 50% of the daughters are carriers, 50% of the daughters are unaffected, right? Here the son gets affected and one son is not affected. Okay, so this is, it's very simple, but unless and until you put it on paper, you will not come to the answer. Okay, so how much ever you try to muck up or by heart, it's highly impossible. You have to put it on paper, then only you will get your answer. Okay, so whenever you get genetics and the pattern of inheritance, do make sure that you put it on paper, and the correct pattern and the correct state of the inheritance also you need to know, and you have to put it correct. And these are the various X-linked recessive diseases, and this is the mnemonic for that. So less HCG is detected clinically in zygomen. So that is a mnemonic, and these are the various diseases. So just note each and every disease that is given here. So next, polyploidy, aneuploidy and euploidy, what exactly are they? So the definitions are given here. So polyploidy, it's triploid or tetraploid. Okay, so it occurs in megakaryocytes and dividing liver cells. Okay, and aneuploidy is a number of chromosomes which is not an exact multiple of the haploid number. Okay, so 2n minus 1 or 2n plus 1. Euploidy is exact multiple of the chromosomes. Okay, so these is the differences, like Down syndrome, we know trisomy 21, then the Klinefelter and the Turner syndrome, and the respective clinical features and the pattern is clearly given here. So just have a look of it. So this is regarding the genetics quick revision. Now let's have a look of the neoplasia. So if you see here, the what is teratomas and what are blastomas or embryomas. So the definitions are given here. So teratomas, the mixture of the various tissues, and they are derived from the three germ layers, that's ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. Okay, so blastomas are the group of malignant tumors which arise from the embryonal or partially differentiated cells, which would normally form blastema of the organs and tissues during the embryogenesis. So examples are the neuroblastoma or nephroblastoma, that is the Wilms tumor. Okay, so again very important, and many times they have asked is the differences between the choriostoma and hemartoma. So normally arranged tissue at a different anatomical site is choriostoma, whereas abnormally arranged tissue in a normal site is the hematoma. Okay, so normally arranged tissue at a very different site is choriostoma. Abnormal tissue in a normal site is hematoma. So just look the difference and note it down. So this is already you have gone through. So just give a very quick glance. So what are the epithelial tumors, what are the mixed tumors, okay, and what are the tumors of more than one germ cell layers, okay, and what are the, this is a very important area. So the contrasting features between the benign and malignant tumors. So they can ask as a true or false statement or many like identify the following, so like that. So microscopic features, everything, each and every point given here, the differences between benign and malignant are very, very important as per exam point of view. Okay, so here this is a cytomorphology in cancer, so this again is very important, so give a good glance to it. Okay, next, the tumor angiogenesis. So in order to provide nourishment, yes, newer blood vessels are being formed from the pre-existing one, so that is called as angiogenesis. And here the angiogenic factor is the vascular endothelium growth factor. Okay, so this is a quite important point. And next, the pathways of spread. So either direct spread from the body cavities and surfaces, or lymphatics, or hematogenous spread. Okay, so very, very important. So just note all these three tables, give a good glance, that's it, just give a reading. So next, again very important is the differences between metaplasia, dysplasia and anaplasia. So even this table, give a quick glance, just give a reading, that's enough. Okay, so next is the carcinogenesis. So this is a normal cell, and here the mutated cell, and here that's activation of the oncogenes and inactivation of the anti-oncogenes and apoptosis regulating genes. So finally the clonal expression and the tumor progression. Okay, so this is just for an idea. And important area is the hallmarks of cancer. So the steps, the 10 steps, okay, are quite important. So already you know the concept behind of what exactly occurs at individual step, right? Just give a glance now. So excessive and anatomous growth, refractoriness to the growth inhibition, escaping the cell death, avoiding the cellular aging, and continued perfusion of the cancer, invasion of the and distant metastasis, DNA damage, cancer progression and tumor heterogeneity, multi-step molecular phenomena, and microRNAs in cancer. So just these are the hallmarks. So as per the exam point of view, little memory based is a table. So what are the different growth factors, what are the receptors of growth factors, and what are the associated tumors. Okay, you have already gone through this, again give a good quick reading to it. Okay, so even again this one, the cytoplasmic signal transduction proteins, the nuclear transcription factors, and cell cycle regulatory proteins, okay, and the associated ones, just give a good or a quick glance. So very important is the CML. So what exactly occurs in the CML? So that is a Philadelphia chromosome, even give a glance to it. Okay, so again what are the various tumor suppressor, anti-oncogenes, and the associated human tumors. So the P53 and RB, that is retinoblastoma is gene, is quite important. Okay, and also just have a look of this. So these two very important. Okay, so again the oncogenes versus anti-oncogenes, little knowledge. So if you give a good revision for this, like just give a reading, that's enough. So these are the mutated forms of the normal proto-oncogenes, and these are the mutated form of the normal growth suppressor genes. Okay, so other differences based on genetic abnormality, major action, and what are the major types. Okay, so have an idea. So these are the, like how the chemicals, if the exposure to toxic chemicals, how the cancer occurs. So initiation, promotion, followed by progression. Okay, so viruses that can cause human tumors, so various viruses that and the respective malignancies. So examples are clearly given here, so benign and malignant. So have a look of this. So for example, Epstein-Barr virus causing the nasopharyngeal carcinoma and Burkitt's lymphoma, and Kaposis sarcoma by HHV8, okay, and HPV causing the cervical cancer. Okay, so hepatocellular carcinoma by the hepatitis virus, so very, very important, and also the hairy T cell variant of hairy cell carcinoma. So all the examples, so just have a look. And squamous papilloma, we know HPV 1, 2, 4, 7, and pox virus causing molluscum contagiosum. So these are the viruses and the respective tumors, benign, malignant. So have a look. Okay, so next complications of ionizing radiation, already you are very well known with it. So neoplastic and non-neoplastic complications. Next, again quite important is p53, called as a molecular policeman and guardian of genome. Okay, and it's represented at 17p. So where the p53 is being represented, then 17p, and it is called as molecular policeman and guardian of home, and this is regarding NF1 and NF2. Okay, so with this we are done with the neoplasia. Now coming to the inflammation. So etiology could be either physical or chemical or infective or immunological agents. Okay, so physical agents, heat, cold and radiation, and infective agents, it could be bacteria and viruses. So coming to the cells of acute inflammation, so these are the various cells. Okay, so that could be a polymorph or a monocyte macrophage. Okay, so just give a look to this table. Okay, or eosinophil and a basophil mast cell. Okay, so just give a look to this table. So acute inflammation, the events, a series of the vascular and cellular events are quite important. Again, vascular events, the hemodynamic changes and changes in the vascular permeability, and cellular events, exudation of the leukocytes and the phagocytosis. So hemodynamic changes, so there is transient vasoconstriction followed by vasodilatation, then increased local hydrostatic pressure, then status, and then the emigration of the leukocytes. So the series or the sequence is quite important, and this is a triple response and the Lewis principle, so which is the red line, flare and wheel. Okay, so next the changes in the vascular permeability. So again give a idea of just have an idea. So due to vasodilatation there is elevation in the hydrostatic pressure, and that is transduate in nature. And inflammatory edema, increased vascular permeability, so that is exudate in nature. So if it's increased hydrostatic pressure, then transudate. If it is increased vascular permeability, then exudate. So what are the differences between transudate and exudate? Again quite important as true or false statement. Okay, have a look of this as well. Next, the cellular events. So the delivery of the leukocytes to the site of injury, then phagocytosis. So again phagocytosis, recognition and attachment stage, engulfment, degranulation and killing or degradation. So if you see, these are the various chemical mediators of inflammation. Okay, so just have a look of this table as well. Just give a quick glance. And next, mediators of inflammation, so histamine, serotonin, very important, even the prostaglandins and leukotrienes, and platelet activating factor and the respective action. So nitric oxide is again important. Okay, so and the reactive oxygen species which causes the tissue damage. Okay, so all these, the mediators, the respective actions, if possible try to remember the source as well. Okay, so again the same thing. So just the functions and the various mediators, have a look, the kinins, the complement reactors or the complement proteins, and the protease activated during coagulation. So the respective functions, just give a good glance, just give a quick glance. Okay, so next arachidonic acid metabolites, even that is given here. The table clearly shows everything, so give a quick reading to it. Okay, so via cyclooxygenase or lipoxygenase, the acid metabolites are being formed, that is arachidonic acid metabolites. And what are the metabolites by the cyclooxygenase pathway? The prostaglandins D2, E2, F2, thromboxane and prostacyclin, whereas lipoxygenate pathway are these two, that is leukotrienes and 5-HTT. Okay, so just have a look. Then this 5 quite important. Okay, so the functions of the prostaglandins, the types of, and the thromboxane A2. Okay, the types, like for example they can ask which of the following type of prostaglandin is a bronchoconstrictor, then you have to go for this, that is PGF2 alpha. Okay, so even like that the questions can be asked, so even give a glance to it. Okay, so again this is, if you see, leukotrienes. So what is the function of LTB4? That is its chemotactic and cell adherence, whereas the others, these are the functions. So again give a glance to it. So next, the platelet activating factor. So these are the just importance or the points related to it. So it's a bioactive phospholipid derived mediator, and again it mediates its effects via single G protein coupled receptor. It's regulated by acetyl hydrolysis, it causes vasoconstriction and bronchoconstriction. Okay. Then the fate of acute inflammation. So this is the fate. So no tissue loss, resolution with tissue loss. Then it could be healing by fibrosis or regeneration. Okay. So that questions can be asked based on the fate also. So give a glance. So next, the chronic inflammation. So chronic inflammation is a prolonged process in which tissue destruction and the inflammation occur at the same time. Okay. So again, the cells of chronic inflammation, have a look. Next, the inflammatory giant cells and the tumor giant cells. So just have a look. So what are the inflammatory and what are the tumor giant cells? Okay. Next, the general factors of the chronic inflammation. So there will be mononuclear cell infiltration, tissue destruction or necrosis, and proliferative changes. Okay. So next, the granulomatous inflammation. So there will be, what exactly is a granuloma? It's a circumscribed tiny lesion about 1 mm in diameter composed of modified macrophages called as the epithelioid cells. Okay, and are rimmed at the periphery by the lymphoid cells. Okay, so very important regarding granulomatous inflammation. So what is the pathogenesis of granuloma? So there will be a failure to digest the agent and weak acute inflammatory response which causes engulfment of the macrophages. Okay. Later, persistence of the injuring agent, either T cell mediated response or a poor digestible agent. Then there will be activation of the CD4 plus T cells, okay, and the monocyte chemotactic factor. Finally, accumulation of the tissue macrophages that are again activated by the interferons and they get transformed to epithelioid giant cells, and there will be secretion of the proliferating fibroblastic proliferating cytokines. So this is a granuloma. So the series of events quite important. Okay, so composition, epithelioid cells, multinucleated giant cells, lymphoid cells, necrosis and fibrosis, quite important again. Okay, so this is a very quick revision of your general path, the important areas in your general path, that is genetics, neoplasia and inflammation. So wherever you feel, you can just pause it and give a quick reading to the charts that I have posted. Okay, thank you.